Could one smile, one note, and one brief glance from Jungkook be enough to make an entire stadium forget how to breathe? On the second night of BTS's imagined Brussels concert, the answer seemed to be written across thousands of glowing faces. The lights had barely settled over the enormous venue when the crowd began chanting with a force that felt almost unreal. Purple lightsticks moved like a living ocean beneath the dark European sky, and the anticipation in the air was so intense that every second before the members appeared felt longer than it should have. Then the music began. The opening beat echoed through the stadium, deep and powerful, and the crowd erupted before the stage was even fully visible. 7 silhouettes emerged through the lights, standing together in a formation that immediately sent the audience into a wave of cheers. Yet as the performance unfolded, many eyes naturally found their way toward Jungkook. It was not because the other members were any less captivating. It was because there was something about Jungkook's energy that night, something playful, intense, warm, and unexpectedly emotional, that seemed to pull the entire stadium closer. Jungkook stepped forward with the calm confidence of someone who knew exactly how to command a stage without needing to demand attention. His movements were sharp but effortless. Every beat seemed to pass through him as if the music had become part of his body. The stage lights flashed across his outfit, catching the details of his performance as he moved from one side of the stage to the other. The crowd screamed his name, but he did not appear overwhelmed. Instead, he smiled, tilted his head slightly, and continued performing with the kind of focus that made the moment feel even more powerful. For ARMY in Brussels, the second night did not feel like just another concert. It felt like a reunion, a celebration, and a memory being created in real time. Fans had traveled from different cities, countries, and backgrounds to stand together beneath the stadium lights. Some had waited for hours outside the venue. Some carried handmade signs. Some wore purple jackets, BTS-inspired outfits, or small accessories that represented their favorite members. But when the music began, every difference disappeared. There was only one shared emotion: excitement. The crowd's reaction grew louder when Jungkook began one of the most anticipated sections of the show. His voice rose above the instrumental with a smooth clarity that seemed to reach every corner of the venue. The fans near the front lifted their hands toward the stage, while those in the upper sections sang every word with equal passion. The stadium became a chorus, and Jungkook paused for just a moment as if he wanted to hear them more clearly. That small pause changed everything. The music softened. The lights dimmed. For a few seconds, the sound of thousands of ARMY voices filled the air without interruption. Jungkook stood still, looking out at the crowd with an expression that seemed both surprised and deeply touched. He placed one hand over his chest and smiled. It was not a dramatic gesture, but it was enough. The audience responded immediately, screaming louder, waving their light sticks higher, and turning the entire stadium into a sea of purple. Many fans imagined that Jungkook was trying to memorize the sight in front of him. The stadium lights reflected in his eyes as he looked from one side of the venue to the other. He appeared to take in every sign, every chant, every fan who had come to share the night with BTS. In that moment, the performance became more than choreography and music. It became a connection between an artist and the people who had supported him through every stage of his journey. He seemed to enjoy the reaction. Jungkook leaned toward the camera, gave a brief playful look, and then quickly returned to position as the next song began. It lasted only a few seconds, but it became one of those moments fans would replay again and again. There was something natural about it. He was not trying too hard to create a viral moment. He was simply being himself, and that was exactly why the audience loved it. The second night in Brussels also highlighted Jungkook's growth as a performer. He had always been known for his strong vocals, precise dancing, and ability to connect with an audience, but there was a different kind of confidence in the imagined performance. He carried himself with the ease of an artist who had spent years learning, evolving, and standing on some of the biggest stages in the world. Every movement had purpose. Every vocal line had emotion. Every smile felt genuine. During one emotional song, Jungkook's voice became softer, almost fragile, and the stadium grew quieter. Fans held their light sticks close, creating a gentle purple glow that stretched from the front rows to the farthest seats. The moment felt personal, even inside such a massive venue. It was as if each person in the audience believed the song was being sung directly to them. Some fans wiped away tears. Others stood silently, holding hands with friends or family members who had come with them. For many, BTS music had been part of important chapters in their lives. It had played during difficult days, happy celebrations, long nights, new beginnings, and moments when they needed comfort. Seeing Jungkook perform in front of them felt like seeing a familiar voice become real. The emotion grew stronger when he looked toward the audience and spoke briefly between songs. His words were simple, but his tone was warm. He thanked the fans for coming, for waiting, and for filling the venue with so much love. The crowd answered with another wave of cheers, and the members around him smiled as if they understood exactly how meaningful the moment was. Jungkook's connection with the other BTS members also became one of the highlights of the night. Throughout the concert, the group's chemistry was impossible to miss. They moved together with the kind of timing that only comes from years of shared experiences. They teased each other, laughed during small mistakes, and supported one another during the most intense performances. At one point, Jungkook appeared to be concentrating so deeply on the next section of choreography that he did not notice another member approaching him from the side. The sudden interaction made him laugh, and his laughter quickly spread through the group. The audience loved it. The stadium screens showed the members smiling at each other, and the fans responded as though they were watching close friends share a private joke. That was one of the reasons the imagined Brussels Day 2 concert felt so special. BTS did not appear distant or untouchable. Even in a huge stadium, surrounded by lights, cameras, and thousands of screaming fans, they still felt human. Jungkook's moments of laughter, concentration, surprise, and emotion reminded the audience that behind the polished performance was someone who genuinely cared about the people in front of him. The energy shifted again when the concert reached one of its more powerful dance sections. The beat became heavier, the lights turned brighter, and the members moved into a fast, synchronized formation. Jungkook's performance was especially striking. His movements were clean and controlled, but there was also a fierce intensity in the way he delivered each step. He did not simply dance to the music. He seemed to challenge it, pushing every movement further until the crowd could no longer contain its excitement. The cheers became so loud that the sound seemed to shake the stadium. Fans in Brussels waved banners and shouted his name between songs. Some had written messages in Korean, English, French, Dutch, and other languages. The signs carried the same message in different forms: gratitude, admiration, and love. Jungkook noticed several of them. He pointed toward one section of the audience, smiled at another, and gave a small wave that caused an entire area of fans to erupt. For the people who received even a brief glance, the moment felt unforgettable. One fan near the front held a small handmade sign that read, "Your voice found me when I needed it most." When Jungkook noticed the sign, he paused for a second and appeared to read it. He did not say anything immediately. Instead, he nodded gently, placed his hand over his heart, and continued the performance. The fan covered her face as the people around her cheered. It was a small exchange, But it represented something much larger, the quiet relationship between artists and fans who may never meet, yet still influence one another's lives. As the night continued, Jungkook's vocals remained one of the strongest elements of the show. Whether he was singing alone, harmonizing with the other members, or moving through demanding choreography, his voice stayed clear and emotional. The audience responded to every high note, every soft phrase, and every powerful chorus. There were moments when the fans sang so loudly that Jungkook seemed to stop and listen again, smiling as though he could not believe the sound they created together. The concert did not rely only on grand spectacle. Of course, there were bright visuals, dramatic lighting, moving platforms, and large screens that made the stadium feel enormous. But the most memorable parts were often the quietest ones. A smile. A laugh. A glance. A hand placed over the heart. A moment when Jungkook stood still and allowed the crowd to sing. Those were the moments that made ARMY Brussels melt. As the final part of the show approached, the energy in the venue became even more emotional. Fans knew that the night was moving too quickly. No matter how long the concert lasted, it never felt long enough. The members seemed aware of that feeling as well. They spent more time walking around the stage, waving toward different sections, and trying to connect with as many fans as possible. Jungkook moved toward the extended stage and looked out at the crowd. The lights around him softened, and the purple ocean seemed to stretch endlessly in every direction. He raised his microphone and encouraged the audience to sing with him. They did not hesitate. Thousands of voices answered at once. The sound was overwhelming. For a moment, Jungkook did not sing. He simply listened. The imagined Brussels Day 2 concert became a reminder of why Jungkook's performances continue to resonate with so many people. His talent is undeniable, but it is not the only reason fans are drawn to him. There is also his sincerity. He can be powerful on stage, playful during a break, shy when receiving praise, and deeply emotional when he sees the love of ARMY. Those different sides make him feel real. When the final song began, the stadium transformed one last time. The members stood together, their voices blending with the crowd. Jungkook looked toward the fans, smiling through the emotion of the closing moments. He waved slowly, as though he did not want the night to end. Around him, the other members did the same. The final notes faded, but the cheers did not. ARMY continued chanting long after the music stopped. They called the members' names, waved their light sticks, and held on to the feeling of the night. Jungkook stood near the center of the stage, looking out at the audience one more time. He bowed deeply, then lifted his head with a smile that seemed to say thank you without needing words. For many fans, that final smile became the image they carried home. Outside the stadium, the night air was cool, but the excitement remained. Fans gathered in groups, replaying their favorite moments and sharing videos with friends. Some laughed about Jungkook's playful expressions. Some talked about his vocals. Some admitted that they cried during the quieter songs. Others simply stood together, unwilling to leave the feeling behind. The Brussels Day 2 concert may have ended, but its emotional impact continued far beyond the venue. On social media, fans imagined sharing clips, photos, and messages about the night. They described Jungkook as radiant, powerful, adorable, emotional, and unforgettable. They spoke about the way he looked at the crowd, the way he smiled during the songs, and the way his voice seemed to bring everyone together. In the end, the most powerful part of the imagined concert was not one specific move or one dramatic moment. It was the feeling Jungkook created throughout the night. He made a huge stadium feel intimate. He made thousands of fans feel seen. He turned a performance into a shared memory. And for ARMY Brussels, that memory was simple but unforgettable. Jungkook stood beneath the lights, sang with all his heart, smiled at the purple ocean in front of him, and made an entire stadium melt.